is filled with human bodies.
The world of Pluribus has never felt more unsettling, and Episode 6 just pushed the story into completely new territory with an ending that manages to be emotional, terrifying, and game-changing all at once. We're talking human-derived protein, stem cell consent battles, a hive evolving faster than anyone can keep up with, and the long-awaited moment where Manousos finally decides he can't fight this thing alone. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Today we're diving deep into how Episode 6 sets up a full-scale rebellion against the hivemind, why Carol's refusal is way more dangerous than it looks, and how Manousos' radio wave obsession might become humanity's last real hope. Buckle up, because this episode wasn't just an ending, it was a warning shot, and it changes everything.
Something they cannot do without our permission.
Carol discovers what the hive has really been eating. Carol's part of the story begins with the discovery that turns her understanding of the hive mind upside down. Her investigations into the hive's food supply lead her to a horrifying truth. The processed liquid the hive consumes isn't just mashed plant matter or lab-grown protein. It's human body parts, frozen, vacuum-sealed, sorted, and processed like any other agricultural product. The Agrijet outlet in Albuquerque is basically a human body refinery. Carol's horror isn't just rooted in the visual shock of seeing human limbs arranged like meat cuts. It's rooted in the realization that the hive has completely redefined ethical boundaries based on its own logic. Even worse, she can't tell whether the videos she's making about this discovery are actually being shared with the rest of the survivors. If the hive controls the flow of information, then she's not just fighting a global hive mind, she's fighting a censorship machine. So she decides to take matters into her own hands, literally. She loads up her car, crosses the desert, and personally delivers her latest video to Diabate in Las Vegas. Her assumption is almost arrogant in its sincerity. She believes she is the only one gathering meaningful intel, while everyone else is being passive. For her, this road trip is an intervention, a wake-up call for the others. But when she arrives, she realizes how wrong she was. Not only do the survivors already know about the human-derived protein being made from dead bodies, but they've already had their emotional breakdowns, their debates, and their moral dilemmas. And in a moment that's both hilarious and disturbing, John Cena shows up in the episode to deliver the casual line that yes, HDP is gross, but the hive isn't killing people to make it, so everyone has just accepted it. This is Carol's first rude awakening. She wasn't the only one uncovering the hive's secrets, she was just the most stubborn about refusing to tolerate them. The others had moved on to worry about the bigger problem, how to feed 7 billion hive-connected humans when the global food supply collapses in a decade. Carol's solution is what she sees as the obvious one: destroy the hive, return humanity to individuals, get people back to farms, and restore normalcy. But the other survivors don't see the hive as a temporary disease. They see it as an evolved form of humanity that needs to be managed, not destroyed.
Way to undo this situation, to turn the world back.
Carol refuses to give consent. Then comes the bombshell from Diabate. The hive has figured out how to convert immune survivors into hive members, but the process requires stem cells extracted through an invasive procedure. And because the hive acknowledges bodily autonomy, they can't take those stem cells without consent. That sounds comforting on the surface, but Carol recognizes the threat immediately. If the hive can one day absorb every immune person, then the last remnants of independent humanity will disappear. And once the survivors are integrated into the hive, they'll starve alongside everyone else. So Carol wastes no time. Right there in front of Diabate, she sends a clear message directly to the hive. She does not consent, and she will never consent. The hive acknowledges this politely, but Carol can't shake the chill running through her spine. Consent means nothing if the other side has no accountability, no checks, no law, and no way to enforce the agreement. Carol realized that she just drew a line in the sand against an entity made up of billions of minds, millions of which probably don't care about her boundaries at all. Her refusal is both an act of rebellion and an act of desperation, because she knows this denial only buys her time, not safety. The episode makes it clear that the hive is starting to evolve quickly, adopting logic that echoes real-world authoritarian regimes. They rationalize cannibalism. They justify overstepping boundaries. They accept majoritarianism because the loudest minds in the hive can overpower the smallest ones. And Carol knows it. She knows their ability to restrain themselves is hanging by a thread, and that sooner or later, the hive might decide that her consent isn't necessary after all. Carol leaves Las Vegas, knowing she can't count on the other survivors. When Carol leaves Las Vegas, she does so knowing the others see her as a troublemaker. They think she's disruptive, too intense, too unwilling to compromise. They want to find a peaceful, negotiated solution with the Hive, and Carol wants to defeat it. Carol isn't trying to be a hero. She just refuses to accept a world defined by a single consciousness. She wants individuality restored. She wants people to think, feel, desire, and believe without a central authority dictating every emotion. And she knows she can't talk the other survivors into joining her, so she stops trying. She heads back to Albuquerque to figure out her next steps, now fully aware that she's in this fight alone, or so she believes.
Express permission to collect those stem cells.
Manousos, the lone survivor who finally breaks his isolation. Manousos' storyline is the emotional counterweight to Carol's relentless practicality. He begins the episode dehydrated, starving, and half-mad from hours spent listening to the radio spectrum. He's convinced that the Hive communicates through high-frequency radio waves, specifically a frequency around 8613.0. He doesn't have proof, but he has a pattern, a rhythm, a pulse that doesn't sound natural. Manousos isn't a scientist, but he's become a self-trained analyst out of pure necessity. His entire worldview is built around one belief. If he can decode the Hive's communication, he can disrupt it. When he receives Carol's first video, it's like someone opened a window in a sealed, suffocating room. For the first time since the Hive took over, he realizes he isn't alone in the fight. Carol isn't just another survivor. She's someone who shares his belief that the Hive's dominance is wrong and must be undone. And suddenly, starving to death analyzing radio static feels like the wrong kind of martyrdom. He needs to move. He needs to act. He needs to find Carol. The show reveals that he hates the Hive not only because it took over humanity, but because it puppeteers the body of his mother, a woman he had a toxic relationship with. The Hive may be benevolent, calm, and helpful, but Manousos isn't fooled. It's not his mother. It's a biological puppet. Knowing that she's truly gone sets him free. Carol's existence gives him motivation. The combination sends him down the road toward New Mexico, beginning a journey that may define the entire back half of the season.
Work on us is by tailoring it to our individual stem cells.
The radio wave theory could change everything. The most fascinating part of Manousos' arc is the possibility that he has accidentally discovered the Hive's Achilles heel. The Hive doesn't appear to use digital networks, satellites, or cloud systems. Their communication is biological, but not in a magical or supernatural way. The show hints that the Hive might be using high-frequency radio waves as the connective tissue of consciousness. If that's true, then interfering with that frequency could stall Hive evolution, delay their plans, or even break the psychic connection altogether. Manousos and Carol are just two people against 7 billion, but if they can disrupt the Hive's communication, even briefly, that might give them enough time to figure out how to dissolve the viral conversion process. Their shared mission becomes clear: break the signal, then break the Hive.
Way to undo this situation, to turn the world back.
Our nerdy thoughts. The show teases that episode 7 will probably focus entirely on Manousos' journey across continents. Episode 8 will likely bring him to Carol's doorstep. Episode 9 will be where the scientific and ethical breakthrough happens. Carol will have to decode Manousos' Spanish. Manousos will have to trust Carol's science. Together, they'll have to find a way to dismantle the psychic glue without triggering another mass extinction event. And all of this has to happen before the Hive decides that Carol's no consent message is a suggestion rather than a rule. That wraps up the breakdown of Pluribus Episode 6's layered and thought-provoking ending. Let me know your theories, your predictions, or your questions, because this story is only getting wilder from here.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.